Hey guys, so we are not going to be able to do our usual live this evening at 7 p.m. Well, we will be doing our live, but it won't be public. And so I thought it best to just do this quick presentation because so many persons are asking questions. What is this workshop going to be? What are some of the topics that are going to be discussed? That's what we're going to be discussing. So if you have cancer, know if anybody with cancer, and want to inform yourself with education, then this is your opportunity to join us. We're going to be talking about our workshop that starts this evening at 7 p.m. All right, guys, welcome to all of you that are joining us. I want to welcome you to today's early session. I decided to do this live at the last minute, so I do understand if some persons won't be able to join us live, but we'll actually be seeing this as a rebroadcast. So this evening, I'm excited because this evening is week one of our workshop that is designed to empower persons. All right, and so I'm excited because I've looked at some of the questions. We asked persons what is it that they hope to expect out of this 8-week session, and it is interesting some of the questions that are coming through, and so I'm excited because we're going to be looking at this very important question because this is something that affects so many persons, and so many persons are being impacted on it. And so wanted to do this presentation to just give you an idea as to what to expect. And if you got a chance to be here, what would be possible some of the questions you would want to ask? I'm going to go over the script, over the outline, the curriculum of what we're going to be discussing, the list of topics that we're going to be discussed. So this is our workshop that is entitled Empowered Healing, Choosing the Right Cancer Treatment Path. And I'm doing a spotlight on cancer because it is such a massive problem that is affecting us. And so that's just so important for us to understand it and to understand the implications. A lot of people are fearful once they get sick. They want to know what's the best natural therapy out there. And so I want to give you an idea as to what to expect. Now, apart from this retreat, this workshop that we're having, we do have a number of treats that are coming up. This is actually something that a lot of persons have asked me about. So many persons have asked me about this particular workshop, or has asked me so much about this topic. Hold on. All right, good. So many persons have asked me about this particular topic. And so I thought it best to do a presentation. But then so many persons have also requested a number of other events. And so what we're doing to help persons to properly plan and to be more active and to be a part of it, we're actually trying to put together our schedule for next year. So we're still putting it together. We want to do a herb walk in Florida, and I'll let you know more about that early in the year. We want to do a herb walk in Georgia, right, and New York next year. So if you're in the Florida area, then we'll make that be known to you as early as possible. Pretty soon. If you're in the Georgia area, we'll let you know. I'm coming to do a herb walk there, as well as New York. We're coming to do a New York. But guess what? We're having a big herb walk here in Jamaica. I want to talk to you a little bit about it before we go into today's topic. So we are planning. It's the ICM Annual Herbal Medicine Retreat. And this workshop is March 22nd to 28, 2025 in the link of this video. There in the description, sorry, of this video, there's going to be a link where persons can go on and they can read more about it. They can try to get their space. So it's going to be a fun-filled workshop. It's going to be what I call a herbal medicine retreat. So it's not just going to be a herb walk, but we're actually going to be doing the full gamut of what would be involved in a workshop of this nature. So we're going to be having fun. So it's going to be fun and educational. I've done my utmost best to ensure that it's both fun and educational. So it's March 22nd to 28th, 2025. I can tell you that we're going to be in Bath Fountain. I can tell you that we're going to be in the Bath Botanical Garden. I can tell you that we are going to be in Millbank. We are going to be having lots of fun, eating lots of nice food. We're going to teach you how to make medicine, how to go out to harvest the herbs, how to bring them back, how to process them, how to combine them, how to make medicines for yourself. That's March 22nd, 28th to 28th. That's 2025. That's early next year. So if you are in the cold and you are hot and you're cold and you want to come to escape that coldness, then this is the best place to be. I'll share as it gets closer. I'll keep on sharing more information. We are going to be in Port Antonio. That's where the accommodation is going to be, and we are going to be close to the Winifred Beach, close to Blue Lagoon, close to Frenchman Cove, close to Sansan Beach, close to Reach Falls, right in that little hot spot. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but it's also going to be a lot of information that we're going to be unpacking. All right. So that's March 22nd to 28th, 2025. All right. So this evening, as I said, I'm doing this presentation because I won't be, the live won't be public this evening. The live is actually going to be a private live because it's going to be our workshop. So for the next 8 weeks, I might have to shift up my live a little bit. Maybe I'll do it at about 6 o'clock since our live is going to be at 7. Our private live is going to be at 7. I'll maybe move our Sunday live to 6 o'clock to just engage persons. But I'm excited because we are on a journey. So we are doing a workshop that is entitled Empowered Healing, Choosing the Right Cancer Treatment Path. And how many that are on today? And by the way, let me know where you're joining from. Let me know where you're joining from. If you're, we're in the States you're joining from, let me know. Want to know where you're joining from. If you're in Canada, if you're in Jamaica. But this evening, we're going to be looking on our first topic. So we're in week 1. Let me just go over the entire gamut. So it's 8 weeks, and we're going to be looking at Introduction to Cancer Treatment Options. That's what we're going to be doing this evening. And the objective of this lesson this evening, or let me go through all of them, and then I'll go through them and kind of give you an idea as to what to expect. So the first week is Introduction to Cancer Treatment Options. That's going to be this evening. Next week, we're going to be looking at understanding your diagnosis and prognosis. I'm going to go through each of them and tell you kind of what to expect. Then we're going to be looking at week number 3, for those of you who want to know what are some natural therapies and some natural therapies that are backed by science. We're going to be looking at exploring traditional treatment options. That's week number 3. That's 2 weeks from now. We're going to be looking at exploring traditional treatment options. In week 4, we're going to be looking at integrating alternative therapies in treatment plans. We're going to be looking at how do you integrate alternative therapies. That is, if it is that you choose to do Western medicine, how do you integrate that? We're going to be looking in week number 5 on personal treatment plans, collaborating with your healthcare team. And by the way, guys, this is one reason I'm doing this presentation. It's not to replace your healthcare provider. The goal of this workshop is to equip you, is to educate you so that you can be a part of that recovery process. You can be on the team that is working towards that recovery. Week number 6, we're going to be looking at navigating emotional journey of cancer treatment. Because how many of you know that when you have cancer, it's not just something that affects you physically, but it also affects you psychologically and emotionally. So you're going to be talking in week number 6 on navigating the emotional journey of cancer. And then week number 7, we're going to be looking at monitoring progress and adjusting the treatment plan. So if you're on a treatment plan, how do you monitor the progress of the program, and how do you actually monitor the treatment, readjust the treatment plan if something is not working, or if some things are working and you need to maybe reduce the dosage. We're going to be looking at week 7, and then in week 8, we're looking at post-treatment survivorship. So, Floyd, hey Floyd, how you doing? Hope you're going to be joining us this evening. By the way, there's a link in the description of this video if you want to join us for the private live later on this evening. So let me just go down and break down for you what is it that we're going to be going through this evening. So this evening, we're going to be starting by looking at cancer treatment options. What are the cancer treatment options? And the goal is to provide an overview of the different types of cancer treatments available, including for those, it is an option, so I have to include it, including surgery, chemotherapy, radiation therapy, immunotherapy, and alternative therapies. So this evening, we're going to be going into the options that are out there. Now, as a herbalist, I look at things a little differently, and as I said, because you want to approach this from an educational perspective. No, not because I am mentioning some of these options means that I agree with them, but they are options, so I have to mention them. All right, so not because I'm talking about these options means that I endorse them or support them, but we have to admit that these are options, and these may actually be, some of these may actually be viable options for persons depending on what is happening to them. Sometimes it's not what you do, it's when you do it and how you do it. And so we're going to be talking about that this evening. So we're going to be talking about understanding cancer and its treatment modalities, the different modalities. What are different ways that you can approach it. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to be doing a brief introduction to treatment goals, whether the goal is a curative, and I'll be explaining what these are, whether it's a curative plan, whether it is what is called a palliative plan, or whether it is a preventative plan. All right, it's very important. So I'll be going into that this evening. What is a curative plan, a palliative plan? Because a lot of times, we don't want to admit it. We don't want to deal with it. Some people, depending on their age, depending on how severe their cancer is, unless you know of a miracle, the approach that you have may not be curative. All right, it may not be curative, and a lot of times people don't want to hear this. But there are times, depending on the age of the person and the severity, how severe the cancer is, sometimes what you have to have is what is called a palliative. How do you help persons by reducing the symptoms and reducing some of the painful experiences that persons have? How do you prepare a person's mind mentally for what is inevitable? That also is an option. And as I said, I know a lot of people are not real, and a lot of people don't want to hear that. A lot of people don't like to hear that, but it is an option, because once you are diagnosed with cancer, you have to admit that one of the options is death. But then it's not the fact that you're going to die or the person is going to die, it's how is that person going to die? How is that person? So it may be possible for the person to travel in that direction in a way that is painful, and there are options. There are literally options. So that has to be one of the options that you have to plan and prepare for once somebody has cancer. So we're going into that this evening. We're going to be going also into the importance of individualized care. What is individualized care, and the importance of individualized care? And we're going to be looking at the different types of, as a treatment plan. And so when we look at a different treatment plan, we'll look at each of them and give some more explanation. And then next week, we'll be looking at understanding your diagnosis and prognosis. Again, the goal is not to replace your healthcare provider. A lot of the times people think that these sessions are to empower persons to replace their healthcare provider. That is not the goal. The goal is to equip you and educate you so that you too can be a part of that team. Because a lot of times people are sick, and because of how ignorant they are not included in the healthcare program. They are not healthcare, that is the cancer recovery program. They are not included because they are simply not knowledgeable enough. As I said, so many times persons have a lot of misconceptions, and it would take so much time to clear up the misconception that sometimes it's easier for the healthcare professional to leave you out. I'm going to talk about this a little bit. Sometimes it's easier for the healthcare professional to leave you out. Now, sometimes there are some healthcare professionals who don't value your views, who don't value your opinion, and so they don't respect your belief. And so sometimes what you say, what you think, or what you believe is not important. But this does not represent every healthcare professional. All right, and so what I think is a challenge is that a lot of healthcare professionals don't have the time to really go into explaining what's happening to you or your loved ones. All right, because and then some of them are not skillful enough because they have all of these complex terms, all of these difficult phrases and jargons, and some of them don't know that they're not talking to a medical person. They're talking to a simple guy on the street corner. You're talking to a grassroots person, and so not everybody has the ability to convey information skillful and effective enough that persons can understand, especially if persons are from the grassroots. All right, and so a lot of times, because they don't, people are not equipped and they are not knowledgeable and there's so much ignorance and these healthcare professionals don't have the time, what usually happens is that how you are going to be treated, what you are going to be taking is usually discussed and decided with everybody else except you or except a member of your family. And so the dangers of that is that a lot of persons who their family members don't know why they are doing this, or they themselves don't know why, what we find a lot of the times is that there is a breakdown, there is an inconsistency in people being compliant with what is required of them to do. And so it's very important that people become knowledgeable. It's very important that people become informed. If I were to go on now and just to be talking about this herb that is good for that, and funny enough, people want to blame somebody. People want to be irresponsible, and there are a lot of irresponsible persons out there who just come on a screen like this and they'll tell you that this herb is good for that herb is good for that, this herb is good for that herb is good for that. Most times, that is an ignorant person just giving information. Now, it doesn't mean that what they're saying is not true necessarily. It's just that what was true for somebody in a particular instance or who has a particular cancer may not be necessarily true for you. And so there's a lot more that goes into fighting cancer than what herbs or what natural therapies options are out there. There's a lot of knowledge that is necessary for you to help you to decode and to help you to decipher what works and differentiating what may possibly work for you. So this workshop is really designed to equip persons to be in the know. So you can identify when somebody is being irresponsible or being ignorant by just listing plants that can work, that possibly can work, that have been proven to work. Because a lot of times people take information and they use it and it doesn't work, and they say the information is no good. It's not necessarily the information is no good or it's not true. It's just that there are other factors that you didn't consider. There are other factors that made it not work for you. All right? And so it's very important for persons to know. It's very important for persons to be in the know. And so that is the reason why we're doing this workshop. A lot of persons, even though I'm doing this workshop, a lot of persons will still call, and there's nothing wrong with that, because the goal is really to help you guys. But if you have not yet watched our first video, we did a video just recently where we talk about understanding cancer families, and I said that alone is really an eye-opener. You should go and watch it if you haven't watched it, because it actually talks about the different types of cancer, because a lot of persons are under the notion, or they're under the misconception that there is only one type of cancer. Right? So cancer is actually a group of disease. Right? And we don't know which member of the group you have. Right? So cancers belong to families, and those families groups are determined based on how cancers behave, function, and how they manifest themselves. So before you can fight it, the first thing you need to do is to understand it. Right? The first thing you need to do is to understand it. And one of my goals is really to clear up a lot of the possibilities that are out there for persons to be deceived and persons to be tricked. All right? This evening, we're going to be talking about, and I've alluded to it in my last video, where I talk about how you know a good cancer intervention program. We're going to be giving a spreadsheet, a document that persons can use. We're going to be going through that this evening. What are the criteria to look for? Right? If you go to your oncologist, if you go to your doctor, or the minute you hear that you have cancer, in our first video we talk about the 3 questions that you need to ask. One of them is, which family does this cancer belong to? Because you want to know what you're dealing with. And that now is what's going to determine whether a particular herb is effective for you. How carcinomas, which is a type of cancer, behave is different from how leukemia behaves. So what will work for carcinomas, which is one family of cancers, what will work for sarcomas will not necessarily work for leukemia, because there are different families of cancers and they work and behave differently. And then there's also the fact that some cancers is a crossbreed between more than one cancer families. And so this brings us to another point. A lot of persons don't trust medical doctors, and so because they don't trust medical doctors, they don't take advantage of the knowledge and the tools that modern science has that helps us in being more effective in our approach. So we're talking about doing ultrasounds. We're talking about doing x-rays. We're talking about doing CTs. We're talking about doing MRIs. A lot of persons are afraid. Some persons will tell you up front that I don't want to know what I have. If I have it, I don't want to know. And that is also one of the misconceptions, where a lot of persons find out too late. And when they find out, at the stage at which they find out, they want a miracle to be done overnight. No, and again, what can happen when you're at stage 1 is very different from what can happen when you're at stage 4. And so what you want to know is, you want to know as early as it's possible. Because when it may be possible for you to use a natural approach and get results in stage 1, it may not be as possible for you to use that same approach and get the result if you have stage 4. When you didn't have to use a therapy that you didn't want at stage 1, you may be forced to use it at stage 4. So there's a number of dynamics that can happen, and that we want to educate you so that you can have that knowledge, so that when you are talking to your healthcare provider, you can actually ask questions that make sense. You can actually ask questions, because the job of your healthcare provider as a professional is to provide you with information that further helps you in making the right decision or the right option for you. And so it's very important that persons, and I can't overemphasize it enough. You can imagine if I was on and it shows that so many persons don't want to be empowered. That's one of the things I can't get. Most persons don't want to be empowered. It doesn't matter how much you try to empower persons. Most persons don't want to be empowered. Most persons want you to do it for them. I'm of the belief that healthcare should be as close to free as is possible. And the only way we can get that done is when you're able to do most things for yourselves. In other words, your approach should be to try to be in the know, try to get the knowledge, because if you get the knowledge, in other words, if you are going to buy, let's say Bitcoin is now over $100,000. If you are going to buy Bitcoin, if you're going to go into any investment, being a novice, wisdom would say employ somebody who is skilled in that area to guide you. And that's basically what we're saying. So the goal of this of this workshop is to do just that. Don't want to go ahead of myself. In week 2, we're going to be looking at understanding your diagnosis and your prognosis. And the goal is to help participants understand how their cancer diagnosis affects treatment choices and outcomes, because so many persons don't know that the type of cancers that they have, the stage that the cancer is, that, amounts to 90%, I should say 80 to 90% of what is the determining factor as to how do we approach this cancer. There are other factors that include age. There's other factors that include finances. There are other factors that include family support. A number of other factors are included. But the biggest factor that contributes to understanding your diagnosis or prognosis is understanding how cancer diagnosis affects treatment. We're going to be looking at that next week. And so we're looking at the importance of staging your cancer, how prognosis influences treatment decisions. We're going to go into that. We're going to be looking at understanding different systems that are used in classifying cancer. We're going to look at that. And then in week 3, as we said, we're going to be looking at exploring traditional treatment options. This is now going to be very exciting, because a lot of persons do want to use natural treatment options. We're not going to tell you which one, but we're going to explore some options so that you can have some lucrative, viable options that have some track record. Maybe controversial, but they have some track record behind them. So we're going to be taking a deep dive into conventional treatments and their benefits. We're going to be looking at also the risk. We're going to be looking at what are some reasonable expected outcomes. All right. We're going to be doing a detailed look at, for example, chemotherapy, radiation, surgery. That's what the medical Western medicine has to offer. We're going to look at some of the side effects of managing them. So some of you already who would have got this knowledge maybe would have gone down that road. We're going to share with you what are some side effects and how you can manage them. We're going to be looking at success rates and expected outcomes for each of these treatments. When you choose some of these options, we're going to be looking at what are the expectation. How do you measure these treatment options? How do you what's the word now? How do you measure them? A reasonable measure them. That's the word, reasonable. Because you don't want to be unreasonable. We want to be reasonable. So we're going to explain to you, share with you, what are the reasonable expectation for chemotherapy? What is the reasonable expectation for surgery? What is our reasonable expectation for radiation? We're going to be going through them. And then in week 4, we are going to be looking at some possible herbs. We're going to be looking at acupuncture. We're going to be looking at nutrition. We're going to be looking at a number of therapies for the mind. We're going to be looking at what I call evidence-based research, alternative therapy methods. So not something for you to try, but something that has been used or something that is being used alternatively and has some amount of research behind it. We're going to be sharing that with you. That's in week 4. And then in week 5, we're going to be looking at personalized treatment options. How do you collaborate with your healthcare team? So we're going to teach participants how to work with their oncologist. If you're working with an oncologist on your healthcare team. We're going to be looking on how do you work with healthcare providers to help develop a personal treatment plan. So if it is that you want a personal treatment plan that's for you, we're going to share with you how do you do that. And then we're going to be looking at key questions to ask your doctor when creating a treatment plan. What are the questions you ask your doctor? I can't imagine somebody missing this evening. Hi, Cynthia, how are you? I can't imagine somebody missing this evening's presentation. As I said, that there's a link in the description if you haven't locked in your spot. So 7 o'clock tonight, we're going to be having a private webinar, a private live. And for the next 8 weeks, we'll be doing that. So for the next 8 weeks, I'll come on at about 5 o'clock with our public live, and then our private live is going to be about 7 o'clock. So if you haven't yet locked in your spot, then this is a good time. I'm going through what to expect out of our 8-week workshop that is coming up. Our 8-week workshop that is entitled Empowered Healing, Choosing the Right Cancer Treatment Path. Now, one of the reasons why I approach medicine like this is because some of you guys, even though you may not be interested in this evening's presentation, it's funny, I find that people have a more greater interest, or they have a greater knowledge in their work. Can you imagine? You have more knowledge about your work than you do about your own health. Some of you have more knowledge about other people's business than you do about your own health. Some of you have more information about the Bible and your church than you do about your own health. It's funny or it's strange what people have an interest and a desire to spend time. Some persons have a greater desire to spend an hour or 2 hours on TikTok being entertained than they do about learning about their own health. So this evening, I'm excited because we do have some persons that are joining us, and I'm excited about those persons. And by the way, we're going to be having quizzes, we're going to be having discussions, we're going to be having a lot of activities. So it's not just going to be a presentation, it is going to be a presentation and then an interactive component. So, hey Quincy, how are you doing? So it's going to be a very interactive experience. So for those of you that are just joining us and doing a preview introduction to cancer treatment options. So tonight at 7, we're going to be doing we're going to be starting our 8-week long workshop entitled Empowered Healing. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going through the topics that we're going to be going through. So we're at week number 5, and we're going to be discussing personal treatment plan options, how to collaborate with your healthcare provider in putting together excellent team. So we're going to be looking at key questions to ask your doctor when creating a treatment plan. We're going to share with you how to understand second options, how to understand clinical trials, and how to understand experimental treatments, because a lot of persons sometimes are faced with cancers that they call rare. In other words, these cancers don't belong to the more well-known and well-understood families or group of cancers. Some cancers are rare. Some cancers are unknown of. They're seeing it for the first time. They don't understand. And so if it is that you're doing, if you're using a Western medicine approach or Western medicine treatment plan, what happens is that they may talk to you about participating in a clinical trial. We're going to share with you how to understand those clinical trials. Some of you may be introduced to experimental treatments. We're going to share with you how do you evaluate these experimental treatments. We're going to talk about the role of genetics and personalized medicine in treatment decisions. We're going to be talking about, this session is going to be so enlightening. This is for the next 8 weeks. We're going to be doing this. And I'm so excited because at the end of this 8 week, anybody who calls me, I'm going to just be referring to these series of videos because it's going to be very, very informative. It's going to be informative for persons who are in the health care, for persons who have cancer, for persons who have family, or for persons who don't have cancer, because we're also going to be looking at preventative methods. We're going to be looking at preventative methods. So that's week number 5, personalized treatment plans. And then week number 6, we're going to be looking at navigating the emotional journey of cancer treatment, which is absolutely one of my favorite topics because I find that a lot of people who are sick, when a person hears that they have cancer, it affects the person more emotionally, than it affects the person physically. A lot of persons are fearful. They are gripped with fear. A lot of persons are so fearful of cancer that they could have detected it early, but they are so afraid that they don't want to know. That when they find out, it's usually too late. I was talking to a lady just the day before yesterday, and she was sharing with me about her husband who was having some issues in his belly. Men don't like to check up on themselves. They don't like to know what's happening. They don't want to know what's happening. And so she would tell him, why don't you just go and check it out? He said, no, man, I'm all right. Nothing wrong with him. Cut us a long story short, by the time he found out what was wrong with him, it was stage 4. It was all over his body. And guess what it was? It was a colorectal, it was colonic. It was colonic cancer. And even though the symptoms were there, he didn't know how to interpret the symptoms. By the time he found out, it was too late. And sadly enough, if you're a medical doctor and you're on, let me know. Sadly enough, or if you're a healthcare provider, you can agree with me, yes or no. Sadly enough, when most persons are careless, not everybody, but some are actually careless. When they do find out what's happening to them, they usually come to you at a stage when it's very difficult for them to get better. And they're looking for you to work magic. Some persons want to actually turn you into an orview man. They want you to work or they want you to work a miracle on them because they have been so irresponsible that they have waited until it has reached to a stage where it is difficult or complicated. And they want 1 session with you or 2 sessions or 3 sessions. They want to get better. Sometimes they drink something, whether it's whatever natural therapy or whatever therapy they're using. Sometimes the first exposure they get to a particular therapy, they expect to feel better or see signs of improvement. And this is so unreasonable because they would have spent so much time, wasted so much time. They didn't want to know. A seminar like this, a session like this, they don't want to know. People don't want to know. They don't want to hear it. And then when they get really, really sick, when they can't move, sometimes when they can't go to work, sometimes when they have no money at all, that is when they want you to recommend something and say, boy, I thought I would feel better already. I thought I would get better already. This, or they may say, what the doctor do, nah help me. Or what the doctor can't help me. Or me now go back there, so pure complaining because guess what happened? They waited until it was too long. Vitally trying to say, sorry, we'll miss it. But if you miss it, it's going to be recorded. I'm going to record all of this because guess what happened? Whenever I meet somebody who says they have cancer, and I'm going to recommend this as the prerequisite. You're going to have to go through this 2 months, or your family member will have to go through it with you because I want you to be knowledgeable, and I want you to have what I call reasonable expectation. Reasonable expectation. Some of you set yourselves up to be fooled because you have unreasonable expectations, and there are persons who will want to take advantage of you and support those unreasonable expectations. So you have an unreasonable expectation, and they'll be there to tell you, yeah man, I can't help you, just take this and drink this. Take this, drink this, and you will get better. And sometimes you die from a broken heart. So some persons, you just have to be honest enough to say, hey, what you need is what I call palliative care. We have natural option to help you with the pain, but you're too far gone. What you need to do is to set your house in order. There's times when it's difficult. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody at all wants to do that. But then it's an option. You have to tell people. There are times when you have to tell persons that because of the family that you are from, there's a high predisposition for you to be a victim of prostate cancer or breast cancer. So these are some things that you need to do to prevent it, because you have a higher predisposition. And so your cancer treatment plan may be a preventative one. These are some things that you need to do once you hit this particular age in order to prevent. So we're talking about preventative. And then there are some persons who we can say, I mean, it can be eradicated, right? It can be eradicated. These are some possible options, whether it be alternative or whether it be Western medicine. These are some possible options. And some persons don't want to hear that either. So a lot of times persons want you to tell them what they want to hear. And it's not possible to do that all the time. Sometimes you have to just tell people as it is, right? So sometimes you have to just tell people as it is. So in week number 6, we're going to be looking at navigating the emotional journey of cancer. So we're going to be looking at coping strategies for stress, coping strategies for anxiety, coping strategies for depression during treatment, because there are some persons who get depressed. And let me tell you, it's very difficult sometimes to deal with somebody who has given up on themselves because of depression. I don't know if you had somebody like that. I don't know, but sometimes it's very difficult, and there are persons who actually fall into depression. And so there are times that on your treatment, on your team, it's important to have somebody whose responsibility is to help support you emotionally and spiritually. We're going to be dealing with that during this 8-week presentation. It's also important to understand the importance of building a support group, building a support system. You can't do it alone. This support system may include family, it may include friends, it may include community. Now, let me just say something here. Your healthcare provider, follow me. Your healthcare provider, and you see a person come to you, 75, 80 years old. That person has about maybe 4 or 5 children. They have 4 or 5 children. But they live by themselves. And they have stage 4 cancer. They've come to visit you about 3 or 4 times, and they always come by themselves. When they go for their different tests and assessments, when you talk to them, you hear that they always go by themselves. That healthcare provider who is going to be working or who sees a client like that is not going to be treated seriously. Let me say that again. Some of you have mothers and fathers and uncles and aunts, and they've been diagnosed with cancer. and there's no support for them. The healthcare provider who is working for them, you're sending a message that there's no support structure, there's no support system, and so almost anything that you recommend is not going to be taken seriously. When I have somebody who comes to visit us, if they're over a certain age, if they're sick, I say, how many children do you have? Give me a number now, and I call. Hey, how you doing? I'm with your mother, I'm with your father, so and so and so and so and so and so and so. It's very important that they have a support system or a support structure. When a person has cancer, one of the things that they need is a support system or a support structure. And I've talked about persons who have support structure, who have good support structure, but who are in depression, and their depression begins to now work as discouragement to their support structure. A lot of this happens because there's so much ignorance. There's so much ignorance. And a person, we've seen persons who provide that very good support, that support system, who don't understand how cancer affects somebody mentally, and they allow the person in that sick state mentally to impact them rather than them impacting the person who is sick. Simply because they don't understand what I call the emotional journey that a person goes through when they have cancer. There are some persons who literally feel that they don't deserve that much attention. There are some persons who don't mind the attention because this is the only time or the first time in their life that they're getting so much attention, and they're basking in it. But there are some persons, especially those persons who are independent, those persons who work for themselves, those persons who are always accustomed to doing things their way or for themselves, it can be very difficult for these persons to be in an incapacitated state or a dependent state, to see how they become the reason why persons become displaced and uncomfortable, that the guilt that they feel affects them psychologically and emotionally, that they become resistant, uncooperative to those persons who are helping them financially, who are helping them emotionally, who are helping them spiritually. It's important for you to understand what happens to a person when they are going through that journey. There are some persons who they should be protected from certain persons. Persons who remind them how sick they look. Persons who don't have any faith in what they're doing. Persons who remind them how much weight they have lost. Persons who make statements that further drive persons in depression. You need to understand the importance sometimes of protecting a client from such an environment and from such a person. It becomes important because you understand how the disease affects the person psychologically or emotionally. We've seen, we do retreats. We do retreats where we take persons who have ailments, and we have retreats to help them to improve. And one of the things that we do is that we normally put two persons in one room. And we find that when one person is in one room, it's very difficult to see any improvement. Usually when two persons share a room, they bounce energy off each other. Usually one person will see another person who has a condition or symptoms that puts them in a far worse situation that they're in, so that alone encourages them. Some persons are forced to be the encouraging person in that room. And so there's a reciprocity of information, reciprocity of energy. And so it's very important that there has to be a component that deals with how do you navigate the emotional journey of cancer. So that's week number 6. Week number 6, we look at that. In week number 7, we look at monitoring the progress and adjusting the treatment plan. We're going to be focusing on how to track treatment effectiveness and make necessary adjustments. The need for regular checkups, scans, follow-up care, ultrasounds, all that. It is necessary. Depending on the cancer, it is necessary. And we need to do this and then guess what? Sometimes initially improvement means no change. Improvement don't necessarily mean that there's a change in the positive direction. Improvement sometimes means that there is no change. There is no progression. That is the reason why reasonable expectation is important. It's important that we understand what is reasonable to expect. Can you imagine a person who is sick, who was led to believe that after 1 month, everything is going to be okay, or most things are going to be okay, only to find out that nothing has changed. So, here's the good news. Because cancer is a degenerative disease. And so if after a month there is no progression, it means that there is improvement. It's just that the improvement is a small improvement. And so if it is that was the expectation, then you wouldn't be disappointed. You wouldn't be discouraged because you have a reasonable expectation. And so that is the reason why it's important for us to go through this. And then in week 8, we'll be going through survivorship. If you survive, what are some things that you need to do to ensure that you still remain healthy, so that you still remain viable? And as I said, we'll be going through a lot of different activities. So it's not just going to be a lecture. It's not going to just be talking. So this evening at 7 is our workshop on what I call empowered healing. The goal is to empower persons to heal themselves, to empower persons to take responsibility, to be a part, to be included in the cancer treatment plan. So if you have an uncle, if you have an aunt, I believe that this is something that most churches, every church should have a representative in a program like this. Let me know if you guys support that. Every church, because a church is a place that is designed to offer support, especially spiritual support. So just and I'll make the notes available, make the videos available. So if you're a part of a church, maybe the church could sponsor it, the church could pay for it. And then this could be a free service that the church could offer to persons who may become victims, in addition to the spiritual support, in addition to the prayer, in addition to all that counseling that the church can offer. A member of a church would be equipped. Thank you, Cynthia. A member of a church could be equipped to have this in their arsenal for potential members. So this could be something for the senior members, or it could be something for the men's ministry or the women's ministry, because cancer is not respective of age, nor gender, nor ethnicity. And what I'm saying is the greatest weapon against sickness and disease is education, not medication. It's not okay just to be able to pray for somebody when you could be in a position of helping them to be to know what are some options out there. Of course, prayer can never be left out, or spiritual intervention can never be left out. But in addition to spiritual intervention, in addition to prayer, in addition to meditation, in addition to positive affirmation, this could very well be another ministry tool that, if you're a part of a church could have, your church could have, to say, hey, if you know of anybody with cancer, our ministry, our church has this workshop that we offer, and it's absolutely free. It's absolutely free. You don't have to pay. It's absolutely free. So you can come in for 8 weeks. Persons would I mean, a lot of persons would take advantage of it because you're giving persons a viable, tangible option other than just praying. You're giving them something that they can hold on to, something that gives them hope. And I know prayer does so much. But what I'll be sharing throughout this 8 weeks, and I know without the shadow of a doubt, is going to be an invaluable tool in helping you or helping a loved one who has cancer and who wants to get better. So we're going to be looking at survivorship care plans. What are some survivorship care plans in the 8th week? We're going to be looking at monitoring for recurrences and maintaining health. We're going to be looking at managing long-term side effects. We're going to be looking at nutrition. We're going to be looking at fitness. We're going to be looking at mental wellness for life after you've gone through a particular treatment. So this 8-week workshop for me is going to be an invaluable tool, as I said, going forward, in helping me to help more persons. My goal is always to help. And some persons, and I can tell you, some persons, they always say, wrong bus too fear, and they say wrong bus too fear. For persons who don't value or don't understand what I'm sharing, a lot of you are going to end up avoiding it, only to find yourself in a position where this information is what you need or what you will need in order to help yourself, family member, or friend. Yes, Vitality Trends, these sessions will definitely be recorded, and they'll definitely be a part of our video archive where persons can watch them. As I said, one of the reasons why it is a private workshop is because we're going to be going into some sensitive information that I don't want to share publicly. All right, we'll be going into some very sensitive information, and that's one of the main reasons why we're doing this private workshop. And so it's really designed to. There's going to be a Q&A, so we're going to be able to take questions. We're going to be able to share, and the goal is basically to equip persons so that they can make the change where necessary. So I'm excited about it. I'm hoping that most of you that are here will be able to attend. There is going to be, or there is already a link in the description of this video. If you haven't yet registered for the upcoming workshop, you can register and you can be a part of it. KR, well, Toda Rabah, welcome KR. So if it is that you haven't registered for the workshop, you can do so. And I've tried my utmost to make it as affordable as possible. For this is just so much information that we're sharing, and we're going to be sharing even so much more in the private workshop. As I said, one thing we're going to be sharing is a document that has a checklist of criterias that you need and that will help you to identify an effective cancer treatment plan. And so it's important for you to understand that and to have that as a tool in your arsenal. So the goal is not for you to as I said, to replace your healthcare team. It's for you to become educated enough, because once the doctor knows that then number one, they're going to treat you differently. That's number one. They're going to, once they understand what are your rights, they're going to approach you so differently because they know that you know what to expect. And so just the treatment alone is going to be different. If your pops, your mother, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin, your sister, whoever it be, once they know that you know what to expect, the treatment is going to be very different. A lot of persons are given a particular treatment because their healthcare provider, they know that they don't know any better. They may know that something is wrong, but they don't know what is right. They don't know. People are not fooled. You know when something is wrong, but then you don't know what is the right thing to expect. I want to thank you for spending the time with me. As I said, I just wanted to do this live to inform persons as to what to expect over the next 8 weeks, beginning this evening. So if you've missed it, you can watch the video again to understand what is expected. Again, I just want to very quickly remind you of our herb walk coming up in March, the ICM Herbal Medicine Retreat from March 22nd to 28th, 2025. It's going to be educational. It's going to be informative. The goal is to, and it's going to be here in St. Thomas for 1 week. I want to empower persons to be able to identify herbs for themselves and also to learn how to use them to make medicine. See you guys later. Bye-bye.